Germany entered World War I in 1914 confident in a quick and decisive victory. The Schlieffen Plan promised a swift defeat of France before turning east to face Russia. However, for years later, Germany was defeated, the monarchy collapsed, and the nation faced political and economic turmoil. Understanding Germany's defeat requires examining military strategy, economic strain, social unrest, and geopolitical challenges. 1. Strategic overreach. Germany's war strategy initially relied on rapid offensives. Schlieffen Plan, designed to avoid a two-front war by quickly defeating France through Belgium. Failure at the Marne, 1914 German forces were stopped, and the front stabilized into trench warfare. The failure of the Schlieffen Plan forced Germany into a prolonged two-front war, stretching its resources and military capabilities. Fighting France, Britain, and eventually the United States simultaneously became unsustainable. 2. The Allied naval blockade. The British Royal Navy imposed a naval blockade that gradually strangled Germany's economy, prevented essential supplies including food and raw materials from entering Germany, led to malnutrition and civilian suffering, undermining morale. Industrial output fell, and the German army struggled to maintain weapons, ammunition, and equipment on the front lines. The blockade contributed to the belief that Germany was being starved into submission, and it weakened both military and civilian resistance to the war. 3. The entry of the United States. In April 1917, the United States entered the war on the side of the Allies, provided fresh troops, resources, and financial support to the exhausted Allies. Germany's strategy of unrestricted submarine warfare failed to force Britain out of the war before American intervention. The influx of American manpower tipped the balance on the Western Front, making a German victory increasingly impossible. 4. Military stalemate and attrition. The war on the Western Front became a war of attrition. Battles like Verdun, 1916, and the Somme, 1916, inflicted massive casualties with little territorial gain. Germany's initial offensive advantage was neutralized by entrenched Allied defenses and modern weapons. Continuous fighting drained German manpower and morale, leading to widespread fatigue among soldiers. Germany could no longer replace losses at the same rate as the Allies, creating a slow but steady decline in military effectiveness. 5. Internal unrest and political instability. By 1918, Germany faced severe internal crises. Civilian hardships caused by food shortages, disease, and rationing led to discontent. Workers and soldiers staged strikes and revolts, including the German Revolution of November 1918. The Kaiser was forced to abdicate, and Germany transitioned to a republic, effectively ending the monarchy's ability to sustain the war effort. Internal unrest made continued military resistance politically impossible, leaving Germany with no choice but to seek an armistice. 6. Failure of key alliances. Germany's alliance system also faltered. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire struggled militarily, requiring German support and diverting resources. Italy switched sides in 1915, weakening the Central Powers. Bulgaria surrendered by September 1918, further isolating Germany. The collapse of Allies left Germany overextended and alone, facing the full strength of the Allied forces. 7. Exhaustion of resources and morale. Years of total war exhausted Germany's economy, military, and population. Raw materials, food, and fuel were scarce. Civilians suffered malnutrition and hardship, undermining morale. Soldiers were weary, poorly equipped, and facing superior Allied numbers. Germany's society and military could no longer sustain prolonged conflict, making defeat inevitable. Conclusion. Germany lost the First World War due to a combination of strategic overreach and the failure of the Schlieffen Plan. Allied naval blockade that crippled the economy and civilian morale. Entry of the United States, tipping the balance in favor of the Allies. Attritional warfare that drained manpower and resources. Internal unrest and political collapse, undermining the war effort. Failure of key allies and isolation on the battlefield. Ultimately, Germany's defeat was not caused by a single factor but by military, economic, and political pressures converging. The collapse of the Central Powers and the signing of the armistice on November 11, 1918 marked the end of the war and set the stage for the Treaty of Versailles, which would have lasting consequences for Germany and the world.